Hello, America, and to our friends around the world, greetings! DEI, or DE, is an acronym, but DE is also the genitive singular in Latin for Deus, God. Linguistic tricks are a part of social engineering. They are something which to be aware, whether this was intentional in structuring diversity, inclusion, equity in that particular manner or not. Whether you're aware of it or not, these subtle actions do influence you and your behaviors. Before you're tempted to dismiss social engineering as quackery, invest time in learning more. There are many examples of such neurolinguistic parlor tricks allowing you to set your friends up for asking what it is that cows drink and so forth. Though that example is an amusing gimmick, the deeper you delve into this subject, you'll discover more disturbing mentalism skills and exercises which, if done properly, will influence others. 27 January 2024. Utah passes bills banning DEI and men using women's bathrooms. Utah lawmakers have passed two bills, one restricting bathroom access based on sex, another eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion from education. By Tom Ozemic, Epic Times. The Utah legislature on Friday passed two conservative-minded bills that prompted Democrats to don all black in mourning, one that bans men from women's bathrooms and another that ejects diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, from public education. Utah state lawmakers in both chambers gave final legislative approval on Friday to House Bill 257 entitled the Sex-Based Designations for Privacy, Anti-Bullying, and Women's Opportunities Act. The measure prohibits men who identify as women from accessing women's bathrooms in schools and government buildings. Keeping men from women's spaces is an appropriate and much-needed boundary in Utah and across America. The bill's sponsor, Utah State Representative Kara Birkeland, a Republican, said in a post on X, "Men don't belong in women's bathrooms," competitive swimmer Riley Gaines said in a post on X. "Thanks at Kara Burke for your leadership on this." The other bill, HB 261, entitled the Equal Opportunity Initiatives Act, prohibits government employers, institutions of higher education, and public education from engaging in discriminatory practices, including DEI. The measure, sponsored by Utah State Representative Katie Hall, a Republican, would ban requiring an individual before, during, or after admission or employment to provide certain submissions or attend certain training that promotes differential treatment. Former NFL player Representative Burgess Owens, Republican Utah, took to X to express his appreciation for the bill's passage. Thank you, Representative Katie Hall, at Keith Grover, UT, and Utah legislators for continuing to lead the way, he wrote. "We're leaving divisive DEI behind," added Mr. Burgess, a critic of what he earlier described as the leftist mantra of systemic racism. DEI tied to Karl Marx's communism. On Thursday, when the bills had already passed one of the Utah legislature's chambers, but before they cleared final legislative hurdles on Friday, a group of Democrats staged a protest against the two measures, wearing all black as a sign of mourning. That's because we are hurting as we join with our communities, our marginalized communities and vulnerable communities through this process, and we just came out of the Senate floor that passed HB 257 and HB 261, and they may move really fast to the governor's desk, one of the state representatives said, according to a video posted on the End Wokeness account on X. Utah Governor Spencer Cox, a Republican, is expected to sign both bills into law. During a news conference in December, Mr. Cox voiced strong support for the anti-DEI bill. "I can assure you, after this legislative session, it will not be happening here in the state of Utah. These diversity statements that you have to sign to get hired," Mr. Cox said. "It's bordering on evil that we're forcing people into a political framework before they can even apply for a job by the state," the governor added. More details. The Bathroom Bill, HB 257, bars people from using bathrooms for a different sex in schools as well as government-owned or controlled buildings. The measure also stipulates that the state's definition of male and female are based on biological characteristics such as genitalia as opposed to gender identity. There are exceptions for unisex or single occupant facilities, changing rooms not open to the general public or intersex individuals. Supporters of the bill have argued that it's needed to protect women from male predators seeking to enter bathrooms or changing rooms under the pretense that they are transgender. Opponents claim that the bill unfairly singles out people from the transgender community. The DEI bill, HB 261, would prohibit universities and government entities from having offices that promote certain policies or require employees to submit statements or allegiance to DEI principles. It also prohibits mandatory DEI training. So far this year, Republican lawmakers have proposed several dozen bills across at least 17 states that restrict various DEI initiatives or require their public disclosure, according to an Associated Press legislative tally. Democrats, by contrast, have filed at least 20 bills in 9 states that would promote or require DEI measures. Deluge of DEI. The rise of DEI has been pronounced across America's businesses, colleges, and institutions. For instance, more than 60% of U.S. companies have a race or gender-based DEI program, according to a 2022 Harvard Business Review survey. Also, a recent report from the Heritage Foundation shows that DEI initiatives were present at 81% of community colleges reviewed. At the same time, a stunning 96% of community colleges with more than 10,000 students posted some DEI presence. But backlash against DEI has also been pronounced. In June 2023, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the use of racially discriminatory admissions policies at educational facilities that receive federal funding. Subsequently, state attorneys general from a dozen states urged major U.S. corporations to abandon their use of racial quotas and race-based preferences in hiring and contracting. Later, a report published by DEI consultancy firm Paradigm Strategies Incorporated identified a decline in corporate DEI budgets and a drop in the number of organizations with a set of DEI strategy. The year 2023 has undeniably shifted the DEI landscape for years to come. External forces are no longer pushing companies to invest in DEI. Instead, in some cases, external forces are pushing back on companies' investment in DEI, the report reads.